just having some pineapple before I begin because I need the energy today. I shared on Instagram that Zoe is hitting her 8-month sleep regression. So this mama needs grace today, absolutely, but also a lot of energy. I'm all about spiritual but also practical, yeah? So this pineapple will hopefully do it for me. In those moments, those thoughts seem so logical and so liberating. So welcome friends to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Krupa and I make faith-based content here on YouTube. If you like my content, make sure or consider at the least to subscribe, like, and maybe share it with a fellow friend or a sister. So the response from my latest video, my labour experience here in Ghana, so if you haven't checked it out, do make sure you check it out after this video, but I'll be touching on some things that I've really touched on in that video. The response that I got from that video, like private DMs and stuff, I'm gonna put some screenshots here so you guys can see, but it was just so overwhelming. And I say overwhelming not by quantity, but the quality of those messages. So previously when I was doing YouTube, etc., I was so focused on making like mass impact, right? Forgetting that actually the impact that you make in an individual is mass, hello, hi, because they then affect their sphere and it's just connected, right? And so every impact is so massive. I say overwhelming also in the sense that it just reminded me that actually this is why I do what I do. One of the main reasons why I started YouTube again is because I just want to be able to go on social platforms, or at least know that my daughter will one day go on these social platforms, and I've contributed in making it just real and relatable and just honest, right? Because sometimes what I feel happens with social media is that maybe you're having a low day, or maybe the start of the day hasn't been the best, and you go on there and you start to judge your life according to what, say, someone else posts on their story. Like, oh my gosh, they've got the perfect mug of coffee, like, and I'm drinking from a mug that says #1 dad. What is that? I mean, that's a poor example of like comparison, but we do end up comparing our lives to someone else's when they've just put the best glimpse of that day, when these times 2 minutes before that they've been crying their eyes out thinking they're so lonely in this journey of motherhood or in their relationship, etc. I say all of that to say, I thought it only makes sense, being that the response was the way it was, that I do a series on my YouTube channel called New Baby Mama. This series is literally going to be about me normalizing some of the realities of becoming a new mum. And although yes, there are some conversations that are just like real and raw, and I love it and I'm here for it, I feel like there's so much more normalizing to do. And so I am here with my experience. Now, just a disclaimer, I'm not a professional in any of these fields. I'm just a mum living her reality as a mother and a wife and a believer. That's what my content is about. And so it's only right that I share what I experienced, in hopes that that would encourage you, or that you could relate to it and be like normalized to your reality. Because sometimes what happens is that you're feeling those feelings or you're experiencing those things and you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't even talk about it because it's just me, it's just I who feels these things. But let me tell you sis, you're not alone, okay? You're not alone. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this series. Stay with me, stick with me. And even if you're not a mum, I hope that it blesses you somehow, some way, some shape, some form, right? Okay, so before we begin, I just want to say that these taboo topics can be quite sensitive, especially if it's something that you're dealing with currently. So I do hope that what you're about to listen to will somehow help you to understand that you're not alone, and also that you're not crazy. I also want to take this opportunity to encourage you that the season will definitely pass, and the negative thoughts will definitely cease once you start getting into the flow of motherhood. But saying all of that, if this is too sensitive for you, you can always come back to it at another time.
And lastly, I just want to say it is not a sign of weakness. It's definitely a sign of strength when you reach out and acknowledge that you need the help. And so get the help you need, sis. So without further ado, let's get back onto our video.
So we are going to kickstart this series with negative thoughts. So before I get into it, let me give you context of what we experienced into the transition of like 0 to 1 and into the transition of parenthood. So we now live in Ghana, so we didn't have any immediate support. So my mum came in January, so Zari was 4 weeks old when my mum came, and so the 4 weeks is really what I'll be talking about. We moved into this place. Zari came as a matter of emergency because I had preeclampsia. If you haven't checked out my previous video, I talk about it a lot more in that video, so I'll leave a card here so you can check it out. But yeah, I had preeclampsia, so she had to come as a matter of emergency. I was also losing a lot of amniotic fluid, not realizing that I was losing a lot of fluid, and so they realized that actually Zoe is just not going to thrive in the womb anymore. It's better for her to be earthside. So she came out and I had to have a cesarean. So if you don't know, cesarean is a surgery that a woman has to go through to get the baby out. And so what happens in that surgery is they cut 7 layers and voila, the baby is out. But she is expected to be active within the next 6 to 7 hours, and it's blimmin' painful. You can't shower for 2 weeks, so you have to scrub yourself. Thank God in Ghana there's a thing called sapo, which is, and I hope I'm saying it right, basically it's like you know, it's not lightweight, okay? It's gonna scrub your skin. So I really appreciated that at that time, because as you can imagine, no shower for 2 weeks or something, and then you can't lie down properly. It is literally a crazy surgery. Yeah, crazy surgery, that's where I'll leave it. So I had that, so we were healing from that. I was healing from that. And then we moved into this house and we were waiting for some of the items to be delivered, like our cupboard, like our mattress, like other bits and bobs basically. So Zoe came into this context and motherhood began in this context. I do want to say though that we did have support in that sense. So we had like a friend who came to the hospital literally a few hours after Zoe was born, bless her. We also had a relative who cooked some good jollof for us, so that was really nice. And then we had some assistance in the house to do some cleaning for like a week or 2. And then we had an amazing friend who made some homemade soup for us, that was so nice, and bought loads of fruits for us, which was so nice. And then we had a family from church who came every other day for like a good few weeks to just help clean up, take care of baby, fuss around baby, whilst I had some time just to be like babyless for a moment. And I occupied that time. I did. I had a conversation with other adults. I also just sat at the kitchen table, just like taking a breather. And then I went upstairs and had my cesarean safe shower, which was basically just scrubbing myself. And it was just so nice. I got to brush my hair, oil my hair. What? Are you kidding me? That was so nice. And so we really appreciated that support actually. So I don't want that to be missed when I say we didn't have immediate support. So the journey of motherhood started off pretty lonely, as you can imagine. For most days it was just Leslie and I, and we will rotate like sterilizing or rotate cooking. It was just a lot basically, it was a lot. I want to just give a quick practical tip here, like if you do have family around, occupy that space and own it, like own the fact that you need support. It's okay, like the fact that you need support is not weakness. Almost see it as a strength, that you're acknowledging that you, one person, cannot be everything for everyone. So that's just my little practical tip. So sometimes in our heads when like we're expecting a baby, we think that we're going to be like really practically ready, right? And although in most cases it is the case, right, because you have a consistent place that you're staying and then you're adding to it so that you can form this space or this environment to be ready for a baby. But in our case, because we were moving, and I'm sure we're not the only ones that are moving like pre-baby, right? And so in our case, because we had just moved and then Zoe came unexpectedly, so we walked into the context of like, oh my gosh, the house is not done and now we're gonna have to have a baby but also make the home a home. I want to talk about negative thoughts because when you begin the journey of motherhood, and if it looks as lonely as our context did, those negative thoughts are real, they're loud, and they're very prominent. I remember at times, and like I said, I just want to reiterate, I'm just a person that is a mum that's lived those realities and just want to normalize some of the conversations around that. Some of those thoughts were so crazy to the point where I was even scared to just be on my own because I just didn't know whether I would listen to it or not, because in those moments, those thoughts seem so logical and so liberating. I'm not going to say every thought that I blimmin' had because we'll be here for ages, but an example of that was Zoe crying. In that moment, I'll be like, I would have a passing thought, but a loud one, to say, well, why don't we just throw her down the stairs? Then her skull will crack open and then she'll be here no more. Is this okay? It was just mind-boggling. It was mind-boggling because I just could not understand how I love this child and I'm thinking such crazy thoughts. And I'm like, bro, what's going on? Like, I don't actually want that to happen. But at the same time, gosh, that would be liberating. That was literally the thought process that I'll go through after having those loud, very raw, very negative thoughts. And so that's just one example out of many that I had. And I want to normalize it because I've spoken to so many other mums about those thoughts and they were all like, me too, me too, me too, me too, me too. And I'm like, why don't people talk about it? Like, how comes I haven't heard about it? Let's just be real. These thoughts are so normal. As a new mom, your identity is completely like shaken. Now you're almost stripped from what you thought you were to like this new person. So one of the ways that I felt really liberated is having mums around me to message and to say like, oh my gosh, I just had this thought and it's crazy. And hearing them say me too was just liberating in the sense where it's like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not alone. So that's one way. Another way is I said a very specific prayer, and it was that the Lord would take every thought captive that wasn't glorifying Him. Yeah, I would pray that very specific prayer, that the Lord would take captive every thought that wasn't glorifying Him. And third thing that was really helpful is journaling about it. I know I keep talking about it, I feel like a broken record at this point, but journaling is basically and was my best friend that had no mouth. So it wasn't going to go and tell anyone, right? And so I could just be like, today, Leslie, anoint me. Or today, Zoe is being a lot. Or today, motherhood is really testing me. And I could just trust that this best friend didn't have a mouth. And so I wasn't going to go and tell, A and B and C. So that was nice. And lastly, it was to talk to my husband and have like check-ins every evening. And that was just so amazing, because Leslie is that type of person that not only is he like really taking in what you're saying, but he's also just decoding it almost to say like, okay, where do I fit into all of this and how do I help this situation? So it was just nice to have check-ins with my husband to let him know like, today was an easier day, or today these are the thoughts that I had, and I don't even recognize myself anymore because those thoughts are just so loud. It's so loud to the point where you almost feel like that is your normal thinking pattern, right? That's who you are now. And it's like, no, it's not. It's just so loud because there's things that are unaddressed, and there's things that are taking precedence in your life, and there's things that are shaking you and your identity, hence why these thoughts are so real, so loud, so raw. So yeah, that's literally it for today's video. I'm going to try and keep my videos short and snappy, because when it comes to editing, you start getting bored of your own voice, and so short and snappy is the way forward. I love being vulnerable with you guys. I love just growing with people, right? And so I hope that this video has encouraged you in some ways. I hope that it's brought some normalizing to the realities that you might be facing. And if you're an expecting mum, don't be like, oh my gosh, is this what I'm about to go into? No, it's not what you're about to go into. However, if it is a reality that you end up living, it is absolutely normal. People go through it all day, every day, if you're like myself. You can always DM me on my Instagram. If you're not following me, definitely follow me on there. And yeah, you can always DM me and we can talk, we can chat, we can pray. So that brings me to the end of this video. If you can relate, let's get this conversation going. Yeah, absolutely normal to have those thoughts. You're not crazy. I can assure you, you're not crazy. Your world is being shaken. You're learning what a new you looks like. And so cut yourself some grace. And yeah, I am done. I shall see you in the next video. Bye.